Gangneung here on the east coast of the Republic of Korea. The Gangwon province also home to Pyeongchang, the host city of the 2018 Winter Paralympic Games. But it is here in Gangneung that the para ice hockey event will take place. As we look at some of the new venues, waiting for the spectators of the games to arrive, but which country will return here in March as World Para Ice Hockey Champions? Our day 2 coverage continues right now. Day 2, game number 2. It is Canada versus Italy. Both teams winners on day 1 as they will put their undefeated records on the line, going head-to-head in just a few moments here at the Gangneung Hockey Center. I am Mike Kelly alongside Brent Pope. We're looking forward to an exciting game here between two teams that, as I mentioned, haven't lost yet in this tournament. The Italians squeaking out a win over Sweden in day 1, while Canada a big-time victory over Norway.
Well, the way the tournament sets up in day 1 is actually all the 6 teams that played. United States of America didn't play. They just played in the first game, and they were victorious over Sweden 7-0. But the way it went in day 1 is you kind of played your nearest, closest peer, we would say, in the world grouping of World Championship para ice hockey. And so the Canadians played against Norway, and what an impressive start they had. They get a 9-0 victory, and it really set the stage for just what we might see again today from Canada. For the Italians, they were taking on Sweden, and they get a victory. And for Sweden, they want to finish obviously within the top 5 to directly qualify through. So do Italy. Somebody's going to lose out, and that was a real tight game, but Italy find a way to win that one 2-1. So as you say, 2 teams come into this one, both undefeated, both maximum points, 3 points in the scoring table already in the tournament table. So it's really going to be interesting. I'm particularly interested to see just how well Canada can play today. I expect it'll be a Canadian result. By just how many, that's going to be the interesting part.
Sweden was in action earlier today. They were 7-0 losers to the United States of America, so Sweden goes to 0-2 in the tournament. Let's take a look at Canada's highlights in that game that we mentioned, taking on Norway in day 1, and it was a dominant performance by the Canadians, and they had some big-time contributors in that game as well. Greg Westlake was named player of the game. He had a couple of goals, 3 points in the game. And things got going right off the hop, less than 30 seconds in, as Westlake left unchecked in front of the net.
It's such a quick shot. There's just no time to react in goal as he just punishes the far side of the net there, and Kissinger Deng has no chance to recover and make that save. And that's the one thing about the Canadians. You see it even in the warm-up ahead of this game against Italy. They shoot the puck as well as anybody does in this tournament. In fact, I would say even better. Some of the big shooters, Westlake and Bridges, really fire that biscuit, and we'll probably see that again today, as you saw it aplenty in the first period. They got 6 goals in that opening period against Norway, and they were finding balance throughout their lineup. They had 5 different scorers on those 6 goals as well, so it's just a great start for Canada. It bodes well to the balance to their offensive attack. As you watch, this is Delaney finishing high and tight on the near side.
And we saw some terrific shots in this game, especially early on from Canada, as you mentioned. Just watching Billy Bridges in the warm-up here ahead of this game against Italy, he can absolutely wire the puck. Westlake was a key contributor for them in that game as well, as you see a lot of open looks for Canada. A shot right here from just outside the hash marks, and a terrific shot over Kissinger Deng, who did not see much of that puck. A great performance by some of the top players. Tyler McGregor, a 4-point performance in the opening game. Westlake had 3 points. Liam Hickey, 4 points as well. Big line for Canada, and those are some guys that they'll be counting on to propel them to victory here against Italy as well.
Well, we thought maybe Tyler McGregor was maybe going to get player of the game. We were also thinking as though that Westlake had got a hat trick. Officially, he didn't. He got the 2 goals and he got the assist, and there you see a great finish there on the play from the Canadians. But they had a whole array of attack, didn't they? They had everybody involved. As you see that whipping shot coming in there from Hickey, and so they really were never really without options offensively. But you know, I really liked the work that we saw from their number 11, and he really was outstanding in the matchup there. And sorry, it was McGregor. Apologies, number 8. It was just great on that unit with Westlake, really making things happen with Cozzolino as well. That line really dangerous for Canada throughout the entirety of the match, and probably much like we saw with the Americans earlier on today with Brody Roybal, with Declan Farmer, and also McKee in that lineup too, Kevin McKee. They were kind of the top line for the United States. That definitely is a unit, but now with a different look, we had an opportunity to chat with Ken Babby just personally ourselves up here. He's the Canadian coach, and just talking about that move with putting Brad Bowden back on the blue line. And he was saying, you know, it just gives us some different dimension to how we offensively move the puck and how we come up the ice with some speed and coming through the neutral zone and attack that offensive blue line with speed. So this Canadian team looks a little bit different, and being honest, after the first games of every single team, I may be changing a little bit of my thoughts about just how good they do look. This game 2 will certainly set the barometer as to just really where Canada's at with this tournament.
Well, and for Italy as well, now facing a pretty stiff competition. Even though the score was 2-1 in that opening game against Sweden, they dominated the game. If it wasn't for some miraculous saves from Ulf Nilsson, the Swedish goaltender, it could have been much worse. So it was a dominant performance. And here you see a shorthanded opportunity for Italy by the man that was named player of the game, Sandro Caligaris, in the end. He did score a goal on the power play for the Italians as well. You'll see right here some great work behind the net from the veteran, the 40-year-old Florian Planker, setting up Caligaris for the goal. And number 9 in blue in that game was the most noticeable offensive player. And if the Italians want to try to match the Canadians in terms of firepower, that'll be a tough test, but they'll be relying heavily on both Planker and on Caligaris as well.
Well, it's the old saying, isn't it, about if you've got a hard-working team, you're probably going to beat talent. But if you've got talent and you also work hard, well, then you're doubly potent. And that's what Sandro Caligaris brings to the lineup for Italy. He was the hardest-working player on the ice. He was the one chasing down loose pucks, trying to create opportunities. He got the breakaways. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to convert this first one, but he does convert a second opportunity. He gets on the board, and he was just involved in everything that was going on, and particularly when they were shorthanded. They might be shorthanded a little bit today, Italy, as they take on this Canadian team. They might have to take some penalties in order to control how Canada is going to be relentless with their offense. And so maybe shorthanded, it's an opportunity to see the likes of a Sandro Caligaris get his skating legs underneath him and really stride forward and put some pressure on the Canadians and maybe in that open play. But there we are. We look at Per Kasperi, who scored the lone goal. So it was just the 2 goals that Italy did score. But what a dynamic performance as we look back as well on Ulf Nilsson. He did the same thing today earlier against the Americans. And so Italy, it'll be interesting. They haven't got the same tempo as the Canadians do, but they are a pretty cerebral team. They're a sensible, thoughtful group in how they play, and they will use that experience in trying to just keep tight in front of their goal and make it difficult for the Canadians to try to break them down defensively.
Yeah, if you missed the game earlier today, it was the United States of America 7-0 winners over Sweden. It could have been a lot worse. They outshot the Swedes 47-0. That's right, 47-0, but a great performance by Nilsson. So you'll see Canada still with the goal differential lead over the United States of America. Canada on day 1 defeating Norway by a score of 9-0. So we'll see if Canada can add to that goal differential and get another victory potentially here. And our third game of the day will be Germany taking on Norway, as those two teams will likely be jockeying for position to potentially get into that 4-5 spot and make sure that they get the automatic qualification for the Paralympic Games.
Well, exactly. And I mean, Italy in a game against Canada that they're maybe not expecting to win, they have to manage the scoreline just like Sweden did, because that will be the slippery slope between 3, 4, and 5 and where you end up in this tournament. Remember, the Republic of Korea are going to be here automatically, and if they finish in the top 5, that means 2 teams from this competition are going to have to find a different way to get a route through to Pyeongchang and these Paralympic Games in just under a year's time.
Well, the Republic of Korea winning in pretty thrilling fashion on day number 1. There was a good crowd for that game. Arguably our best crowd of the day for the first game of the day, with the United States taking on Sweden, and we expect another good one here as Canada gets set to take on Italy. Both teams winners on day 1. We'll be looking to carry that momentum into this game. We will have puck drop coming up for you shortly. It's Canada versus Italy. We welcome you. Game 2 of our Day 2 coverage of the 2017 World Para Ice Hockey Championships. It is Canada taking on Italy. Our officials for the game: the referee from Norway, Ovi Luthuk; the linesman from Sweden, Andreas Lunden; and from the Czech Republic, Jan Vanek.
Well, the referees have done a good job, haven't they, so far? They've kept things under control. They've had to call a lot of penalties, in fairness, maybe more than we might have expected in this tournament, but we haven't seen anything nasty or unnecessary so far. They've had a pretty good handle on the teams and the temperament of the play so far in the tournament.
Referees getting warmed up. Both teams standing by to take the ice as Canada getting set to head onto the ice right now. Here they come, and the Italians taking the ice as well. Both of these teams will be looking to remain perfect in this tournament. It was Corbin Watson, number 30, the goaltender for Canada, leading the Canadians out onto the ice. He will be the starter in goal. We take a look at the rosters from each team. The visiting team today, Italy. Players that stick out to you: Brent, obviously we've touched on Florian Plonker, and Sandro Caligaris as well.
I was really impressed with the way Gianluigi Rosa handled the puck. Number 3, the defender, he really sets the table. Nils Larch made that great play as a forward, number 11. We've talked about Sandro Caligaris, but Florian Planker is a veteran of this side. But you see equally as well, 73, Gregory Leperti coming in there, but the second goal they scored, the winning goal in that game, was 62. Christoph De Pauli, who scores the winning goal over Sweden in the opening matchup. So there is depth as well for the Italians as they are just getting themselves corralled in behind and around their starting goaltender. And we've got both the Raudo and Stilitano in there, awaiting to see which one will leave the goal, as now we look at the Canadians lineup. And so Corbin Watson gets the start. It was Larocque that was in there in their first game against Norway. But this lineup here with Dixon, we talked about it with Coach Ken Babby. Now he's got the relief of Brad Bowden on there. Great movement, good puck control. Kevin Sorley as well, a great shot on that blue line. But it was the show really from Westlake, their captain, the way he performed. Just love the work rate from Tyler McGregor in that opening matchup as well. And of course, Billy Bridges with a punishing goal off the post. It was on a delayed penalty call that he ended up just kind of grabbing. And I think everybody was undecided, and he certainly wasn't. He took his opportunities. So we look at the Italians. It's Stilitano who will get the start as Massimo Durin, the head coach, architects this Italian lineup in readiness for taking on what is a very strong Canadian team. And there, of course, is Ken Babby, who was just up here on our right watching the Americans play against Sweden in the first game. And that's when we had that opportunity to chat with him and kind of pick his brains a little bit about how he feels about his team's prospects in this tournament.
Starting in goal for the Italians, it will be number 1, Santino Stilitano. He did not play in the first game. That was a victory that went to Gabriele Araudo. So Stilitano getting the nod here against Canada, and he will likely be busy in this game. You see Rosa going back and giving him a touch. For Canada, number 30, Corbin Watson getting the call. It will be his first action of this tournament, so both teams choosing to alternate goalies, playing back-to-back here on day 1 and day 2.
It's always interesting as the coaches really have a choice. Some of the teams maybe have a pure number 1, but with both the Italians and Canada, you can flip a coin. It really comes down to who's performing best as to who is going to get the maybe sort of the more important games or the games that you're expecting to compete in. I think the Italians, maybe if giving the nod to Stilitano as their number 1 in this particular game, it's not always necessarily a telltale sign as to who is the number 1, but he gets the duties today. And Araudo gets that important victory that at least got 3 points in the score column as we just get ourselves ready to go as the official. The Norwegian Luthke is ready to drop the puck as we are counting down those precious seconds ahead of action again in day 2.
Well, Dominic Larocque didn't face too many shots in that game yesterday. He only had to make 3 saves. He was perfect, so it's not a matter likely of fatigue, but probably Coach Ken Babby just wanting to get both of his goalies some action in this tournament. As we continue, the puck has been dropped. First period action, Canada versus Italy.
And it is going to be Caligaris immediately who just gets that puck and ushers it out of the defensive zone. And so this opening lineup, it's Leperti, Caligaris out there as well. De Pauli, who scored that goal, is out there for Italy. And coming across the line, it's McGregor with Westlake and this unit as well with Cozzolino. So they've been given the nod as the #1 unit for Canada. As Caligaris just, he's got to be careful there. He makes a play across, and he was maybe a little bit lucky to have advanced that without having it intercepted. And this, the shot in. It's the first shot on goal, and it goes in on Corbin Watson. So he makes it. It's from range, but you might have expected the Canadians to get the first shot in. But we are just over a minute gone in the opening period of action. And Arsenault just moves it around. And Canada just linking the passes together to break out of their zone. It's up, and Cozzolino just protects it and is just trying to buy some time. But immediately that good, steady defense from Gianluigi Rosa, who is able just to clog up the Canadians' approach towards goal. Dixon, who you expect to be playing on the blue line, he likes to come forward. He's in a good offensive position for Canada from here.
Good pressure here defensively by the Italians as they swarm, but a lane right there for Billy Bridges. He didn't get everything he wanted on that shot, sent it just wide of the net. Bridges is there attacking again, but as I mentioned, a good job by Italy to swarm the Canadians. As the Canadians are attacking, try to limit their ability to get the puck to the front of the net.
Well, this is the same unit on the ice now, and we're over 2 minutes gone, and Italy have not been able to change yet. Now they get 2 players changed, but still 3 remain of the 5 that started this hockey game on the ice, and that's a long shift in anybody's book. They're across the line, onside here. Canada, Bridges is going to come to the net. He scores! And that is driving the puck to the net with purpose is Billy Bridges, and like a bull in a china shop, he wastes no time to slot that one past Stilitano, and that is a man with a plan as he's just buried Canada's first goal.
A great little pass here by Hickey. He goes underneath his own sled, creating a little bit of deception, and then Bridges has a decision to make here. Does he try to center the puck? Does he loop around the net? No, he cuts hard to the net, and he finds the far side. A nice little celly there as well from Bridges, who gets the fist pump going as he crashes into the back of the net, and we could hear him yelling after that goal. Canada off to a 1-0 lead here with 12:43 to go in period #1.
Well, it's a world-class power move from Billy Bridges, and no less than you might expect from a man who's got the size and physical strength to be able to take that puck to the net with purpose, but to be able to finish it off from such a tight angle is very impressive indeed, and it bodes well for the Canadians. Those good fundamental hockey plays, to be able to execute them to that high degree is a good omen for them in their game plan and being able to execute it. This is Bowden right through the middle of the ice. He's got room, and he's going to have a good lane from there. And it's a handcuffing shot on Stilitano. He's able to glove enough of it, and it goes into the corner, but it's got some good tempo on it, that shot from Bowden. As they will pick up the loose change now in the corner and see if they can't reload for another shot in on goal. Canada with the lion's share of possession in the opening stages of their second game of the tournament. A quick slotting shot there from Sorley, but it's Bowden who's trying to set the table for Canada in this next wave. And these shifts, after you score a goal or after you concede a goal, are so important to be able to maintain momentum and also gain further momentum. And that's what Canada's trying to do right here.
Good battle going on behind the net there is Andrea Macri, the Italian defender, the 25-year-old, finding a way to dig the puck loose. And Italy trying to get the puck out of their zone, but a big hit delivered there by Kevin Sorley of Canada as both teams facilitate a line change. Adam Dixon back to get the puck, and he's a great skater, able to move the puck. Canada's top line coming out here now, but it is just offside as Tyler McGregor and Greg Westlake get a little bit crossed up there. Take another look at the goal here.
Well, it's just a power move, isn't it? And much as the shot maybe didn't have a whole lot of pace on it, what he had already done is he had generated the lanes of the net and the angle by just getting and turning the corner on the Italian defender there. And I think it was Christophe De Paoli. He was trying to stay with Bridges, but once he had committed and put his head down and decided he wasn't going to cut behind the net, he was going to stay in an open enough position to try to find that far side of goal. Well, it was just real great play to be able to finish it off. As there's a hot shot coming in from Dixon. You see how he's able to release that, and he's going to come again. He's going to battle straight into each other, and those are always dangerous collisions on the ice, as they have their sleds, of course, right at the end, made of this hard steel, aluminum, and I'm sure a number of different fibers, carbon fiber too, but equally they have to withstand the punishment that they endure as they collide into each other. There, Westlake is right into the body of Stilitano, and it does go in the back of goal. From our vantage point, we couldn't see it cross the line, but the goal scorer knows, and he was immediate to celebrate, and equally the green light goes on as Dixon just feeds it wide here to Westlake. And watch this here. He just cups a quick shot, and it's the speed of his release that doesn't allow Stilitano to get set, and he just finds a little bit of an opening between the blocker and the body and squeezes it through for Canada's second goal.
Nice play there by Westlake. Takes his time, knows where he wants to shoot it, and again, we've seen 2 goals now go in on Stilitano, the 47-year-old Italian goaltender. One through the body on the glove side, and one through the blocker in the body on the other side. So a little bit leaky here in the opening few minutes. Canada now, with just under 5 minutes gone in the first period, is out to a 2-0 lead, and they're looking for more.
And they almost just found another lane there. Their service right now and the way they're feeding off each other is as good as we have seen in this tournament so far. They come, they support the puck, but equally they give each other options both left and right. And you'll see, as we've commented before, that there are players that are generally right-hand dominant. Bridges
hit the Canadian blue line. It was Gregory Leopardi throwing a massive hit on Billy Bridges, and that's one way to try to slow this Canadian attack down. Play a physical brand of hockey, and we just saw a big pop there.
And a big hit indeed. 2 big bodies going into that collision there. And sometimes you really want to, or prefer maybe, to have a fall in those instances, because all that force colliding into each other, otherwise you end up internalizing it, and that's maybe where injuries occur. It was Bridges who just came right up out of the old apple cart and got himself reset, and he's still going strong. Here he is again. And a shot there, it goes wide of the net. It's Bowden who actually receives it go off of his body, but he's the first one to go and collect the loose change. And can he cash it in here with another feed to the big man as he goes wide? And that is actually, this time, it wasn't Bridges, it was Liam Hickey, who equally has that shooting ability from tight range and from further out as well. We saw that in day 1 against Norway.
Great save there by Stilitano to get his body across and get in front of the puck. His favorite goaltender in the National Hockey League is Carey Price, and he looked like him there, making a sprawling, acrobatic save.
Italy doing well to match the intensity from Canada so far in this matchup. And remember, as we look back to just comparatively, just kind of looking at the American scoreline and the Canadian scoreline, the Americans were up 3-0 over Sweden in their first match today, and Canada well on their way to establishing a similar scoreline with the 2 that they've been able to tally. There now, here's a chance for Italy, their first real look at maybe having a partial break or an odd man rush to try to at least force the issue on Corbin Watson.
And that will be the offensive catalyst for Italy, certainly one of them, number 9, Sandro Caligaris. He was the player of the game for Italy in their opening day victory over Sweden, and he was able to pick up a little bit of speed in the neutral zone, get a shot off, but unfortunately doesn't find the goal for Italy.
Canada break it up, but Italy will retrieve it. And there, Rosa, it's trouble from range as it goes over the glove, and Watson, I think, just gets a touch of it. Maybe it was just a little bit higher than the crossbar, but we have seen what that can do, particularly if a goaltender comes out high at the top of the blue paint. Maybe a lob shot can, in fact, get into the top portions of the net, as Canada are just now mired in a little bit of a logjam with the Italians just inside and right there short of their own bench area.
Yeah, the goaltenders have to watch those lob shots from outside of typical scoring range. As you mentioned, if you come out a little bit too far, it's difficult to cover that top part of the net, and they can easily pop in over your head. So something that the goaltenders know they have to watch for, and something as well that the players know that they can potentially take advantage of if they see a goaltender maybe napping a little bit or out a little bit farther than he should be.
Looking at the complexion of this hockey game so far, a characteristic is at least the Italians are trying to establish some offensive zone presence by getting the puck and controlling and trying to make play. Big hit there, though, as Planker takes his man off. He's going to get penalized for it.
Well, that's an interference call against Florian Planker. He was trying to angle the Canadian forward off the puck right there, and he got there a little bit early on Tyler McGregor, and he ends up taking a penalty. We'll be back in a moment. Canada going to the power play.
Canada with the lead, 2-0, 6:20 remaining in the first period. This is day 2 action, the second game of the day. Still another one to come. Germany and Norway later on in the action, but it's Bowden who will receive this winning face-off. They've got the power play, Canada, and the penalty going to Florian Planker. There is another wicked thrust towards goal, but it's wide and it ends up coming out into the neutral zone. So it's Planker, as you see, 2 minutes for interference, and he could pay a price for that one. It could be another Canadian goal. The way they're going, they certainly had a good look at it there. This for Dixon, right tight, and he goes wide again. And again, they've just let themselves down without being accurate enough with those shots.
Adam Dixon, a wide lane to the net there, and he's got another one right here. Puck slides off his stick, but if you're the Italians, you can't allow a player as skilled as Dixon to get a look like that. He missed on that opportunity, but you do that again and you may end up paying for it. As McGregor now trying to find some open space for Canada as they get set up, and a shot just wide of the net.
I mean, as much as it didn't have a lot of pace on it, it had probably just the leaning Stilatano the opposite direction. If that was accurate, it may have in fact fallen and gone in the net, but Dixon will hold and he'll look for Bowden. Bowden is just able to control, gives himself a little bit of puck protection there, turns his back to the Italian, and then Westlake will just retrieve it. And McGregor, Westlake, and Dixon, it's like Harlem Globetrotter stuff the way they're moving around here. It's full continual motion from Canada on this power play.
But a good job there by the Italians to clear Westlake trying to center the puck. Stick gets in the lane, blocks it. And Italy does a good job to clear the puck, get a line change here, and get some fresh players out on the ice.
Dixon with the first attempt to come forward is broken up by Laperti, and now it's Bridges. Bridges will just try to assert himself. It's lunged forward to McGregor. McGregor is just going to hold it, and he'll just lay it off for Bridges to take it forward, and Bridges does not need a second invitation. He had a play, maybe he could have made it in Armstrong, but he would have needed eyes in the back of his head to make it. Look at Bridges hold that line. He's as strong on that line. It's like a tightrope, and he is one of those big bodies in the sport that you just can't muscle off the play easily, as Italy have now been able to clear it down the length of the ice. They're back to 5-on-5, and with that clearing effort, it will be an icing against.
3:57 to go here in the first period, and a good job by the Italians to kill off the man advantage by Canada. The Canadians with a couple of good looks there, unable to put anything concrete on goal. As we see Rob Armstrong, a forward from Ottawa, Ontario. He's playing in his first World Championship. He was a scratch yesterday, getting his first taste of World Championship action. here against Italy. An offensive zone draw for Canada. So they'll try to find a way to get a third goal here and extend that lead. Dixon, such a great presence at the blue line position for Canada.
And he picks it up again here. There's the shot. Stilitano makes the save, and Stilitano might be feeling a little bit raw about the 2 goals that he did concede. Yes, they were well taken plays by Canada, but they found a way through his body that I'm sure he would have loved to have been able to have concealed any of those openings that did just form. But Canada equally, they take their chances when they come and they make the most of them. They're very opportunistic, as now this puck is just clued around or carried around, and it will go the length to the ice again. And this is a little bit of a sign from Italy that they're getting tired and just need to have a break.
Well, they're not going to get it yet, as they've iced the puck twice in a row here, unable to get a line change. And the Italian coach giving some instruction to a defender over by the bench as Italy gets set now to defend again. 3:14 to go here in the first period. Canada does get a line change in. They've got the great sniper Greg Westlake out to take the draw.
Yeah, Westlake, as we said, unofficially, well, we thought he had got the hat trick in the opening day, but it wasn't in the official score column. What a double pad stack there from Stilitano on McGregor, who just wires one low and tight to that right post. But Bowden out here, the overlap, the body checking, and the good presence there. We've seen that a couple times from Laperti. Now Westlake comes in and gives him a little bit of his own back, and now Corvino will respond for Italy, and he just lays the body out there. So that's a good game plan for the Italians to slow down these Canadians. There's a shot though, and the accuracy right now from Canada, they might have to recalibrate their sights, because they have had real good looks, but they've just not made as much of them as you might have expected from the positions they've been in on the ice.
It was a great play by Cozzolino on that chance to let the puck go underneath his sled so he could take it on a strong hand, get a good shot on goal, but he missed the net. Now Westlake in a one-on-one opportunity. He wins a lot of those, and he's got a chance to whip one here. He does it, stopped, and the rebound scores.
And Corbin Smith is going to get the loose change, and he banks it for Canada, and a third goal, as Westlake does enough to challenge Stilitano. He can't control the rebound as he hits him high up in the body, and it's actually off the glove there, but you see it kick out, and right on top of it in a good position is Corbin Smith, and from there he's not going to miss many of those, although it was bouncing when he retrieves it, and then Stilitano gets upended because he's a long ways from home when he challenged that angle to close it down on Westlake.
Yeah, a little how do you do by Corbin Smith afterwards, running into the goaltender Stilitano. You know, not intentionally trying to run him too hard or anything, but at the same time, not working too hard to get out of the way either. Make his presence felt. That's a nice goal there by Corbin Smith from Perth, Ontario, going hard to the net. He's been a veteran of this sport since 2003, and he knows that when there's an opportunity where to go to those gritty areas and get those goals. Canada now with $1:45 to go in the first period as a 3-0 lead.
And they'll feel better about that, the Canadians, particularly as well, having that power play and not getting much from it. And we could really say we have had a handful of opportunities, goal-scoring opportunities for Canada, that they've been a little bit wasteful with at different times in this opening period as we're closing down towards the last minute of this opening period. Remember, they're just 15 minutes in para ice hockey, as Dixon now has Planker all over him like a cheap suit, and he's able to find a way just to rack it up off the glass and get it up and down the ice, but it will actually go for an icing. So maybe a little bit irritated there was Dixon with just how much Planker was all over him.
Yeah, Planker fortunate to not take a second penalty of the period, as he had that loose arm up around the back of Dixon, and that one could have gone either way. The official choosing to let it go, which we always like to see, let the players play, but that's about as close as you'll come to a holding penalty without actually taking one by Florian Planker. He's a great veteran of this program for Italy. Began playing the sport in 2007, 40 years old. A multi-sport athlete as well, as he won a bronze at alpine skiing at the 2002 Paralympic Games in Salt Lake City. So he's a guy that trains really hard, competes in a number of sports, is a phenomenal athlete, and has been a mainstay here for this Italian para ice hockey team for quite some time.
Well, it's a real feather in their cap to be able to compete in multiple sports and at the best of their ability at Paralympic level. So there we say a full credit. The stories of these athletes and their journeys to get to a world championship stage, and ultimately what's at stake here is a place through to compete at the Paralympics in a year's time, a little less than a year's time, inside this Gangneung Hockey Center. This is where the competition will be, so this is just the prelude to the main event, but equally a world championship title at stake, and Canada will have designs on that as here comes Bridges down this right wing, and he looks like he means business again. Oh, what a toe drag, what a backside play, and a score. Oh my goodness, Billy Bridges with the feed across, and he looks to be doing a little bit of a moonwalk away from his teammate there, Liam Hickey, as they celebrate in style. But oh baby, you talk about an Ovechkin-like toe drag, and he left Gianluigi Rosa just wisping at shadows as Bridges gets it across to Hickey, and although he didn't get it up elevated, he had enough on it to get it through Stilatano.
That is a nasty toey there from Billy Bridges, and he had a great celebration again to boot as he slides it across to Liam Hickey. What a phenomenal move that was by Bridges. He's got such a terrific shot. You always have to be cognizant of that shot from Bridges. And maybe that's what Rosa was thinking. Rosa went sliding by him, and he was completely taken out of the play on that toe drag fake. And now one way to try to slow Bridges down is to throw some weight around, and that's exactly what the Italians are trying to do there. A nice hit at the blue line by Gianluigi Rosa. The same player that got toe dragged, you know, he wasn't happy about that, and he took a nice little run at Billy Bridges. Some physical play to end the first period. Canada with a 4-0 lead. Arguably their prettiest goal of the tournament, that fourth goal.
It certainly was, and you're watching Billy Bridges perform right now, and here is a guy who has been playing at the top of this sport now as a face of this Canadian program and a veteran of it. And my goodness, was that a real spectacular individual play, and his performance equally, as we were down pregame just looking to chat to the coaches ahead, and he mentioned to us just how excited he was about the coverage that we were being able to provide, and wow, we're excited about what he's able to do on the ice. That was great action here. Canada take a commanding 4-0 lead over Italy after the first period of play.
Inside the Gangneung Hockey Center, it is 4-0 Canada after one period of play. They've taken the play to the Italians in much of that first period. It was a physical contest, and we saw some great creativity from the Canadians as well. It was the star players putting on a display, and it was really highlighted and punctuated at the end of that period by the great play by by Billy Bridges. We'll take a look at some of the highlights now from the first period. And once again, for the second day in a row, Canada able to get the puck in the back of the net early in the first period and really set the tone.
Well, they got 6 goals in the first period. Yesterday against Norway, they were able to establish 4 goals, and it started here with Billy Bridges. And it all started with the way he put his head down and decided that he was going to attack the front of the net rather than going behind. Often the case is with some of the players, if they feel they're being tracked down and the corner's being closed down on them as they're trying to round around the defenseman to get to the net, they'll just go and take the easy route and go behind the net. He chose not to. He buried his head, he took a shot on, and I think maybe to a degree potentially surprised Stilatano on that first shot. But Westlake as well, as we're seeing the action from him, Westlake was outstanding. His shot goes through the body of Stilatano, and that was the second one. And then we just saw some great individual work throughout the entire Canadian lineup, but it was punctuated there by that last goal with Liam Hickey getting the benefit of what was the Billy Bridges toe drag, as he was able to leave Gianluigi Rosa just chasing shadows. And you saw him try to recover. As we look back at this, this is the Westlake shot. That's the second goal that goes through Stilatano, kind of handcuffs him. And at the time, we didn't think that maybe it had gone across the line from our vantage point. And all the good work there you see it, a better angle of it, and how it's able just to kind of overpower Stilatano with his strength.
And we see a big hit there from Leopardi at the blue line, as a phenomenal display there of physicality by the Italians. And that's one thing they tried to do to slow this Canadian team down, is play the body a little bit, play a physical brand of hockey. And it worked for them at times, but at the same time, these Canadians are so good, so talented. And we saw Corbin Smith with the tap-in on the third goal on the Greg Westlake shot. And we saw Liam Hickey with the tap-in after the great move by Billy Bridges. So Billy Bridges bookending the offense for Canada in the first period, scoring first, scoring fourth. Gets them out to a good start. And now Canada's improved its goal differential to a +13 in the tournament. As we take a look at our statistics after one period of play, the shots 11-0. When you are that effective offensively, and we saw this from the Americans in the early game today as well, you don't give up anything defensively because you're dictating the play so often.
Well, and even the face-offs there, they're 7-2. That's not a lot of face-offs because they were able to continuously just control the puck in the offensive zone. And so, yes, they get 11 shots. And the Americans, I think they got 20 shots in the first period against Sweden. But it's really irrelevant because of those 11 shots, how many did they miss the net? They could have easily had 20. I think they missed the net a half a dozen times as well, did Canada, with prime goal-scoring opportunities. So, although it's 4-0, it really easily could be a half dozen goals, just like they outputted against Norway in day one, the way they played in the opening 15 minutes.
Canada will be looking to create some more offense in the second period. We continue with our first intermission coverage in just a moment from the Gangneung Hockey Center. Inside the Gangneung Hockey Center, it is 4-0 Canada with the lead after one period of play. 11-0 are the shots for the Canadians. They really dominated the play in the offensive zone against the Italian team. One thing that we did see from the Italian team as the period continued to go along is they really tried to throw their weight around a little bit more, especially Leopardi, number 73 for the Italian team. He threw a couple of big body checks. Is that something that maybe they will want to continue in the last two periods in an effort to try to slow this Canadian team down?
I think you have to. I think it's an important part of playing a physical brand of hockey. You're able to shut the team down, play a fast. If they're going to play a fast game, you have to be able to try to separate the man from the puck. And the thing about playing against Canada differently than playing against the Americans, Canada look physically a little bit stronger, look a little bit bigger on the puck, and they're not as easy to separate from the puck as maybe we saw sometimes earlier today when Canada was playing against Sweden. So these are some of the things that Italy have available to them to try to slow down the Canadians, and they are going to have to try to employ that and continue to play that game against them as this game goes on.
They'll have to stay out of the penalty box as well. Just the one penalty in the first period, Florian Plonker for interference, but there was another play where he might have had one as well. It was kind of close as well, so that's something that the Italians can certainly not afford to do, is go short-handed against such a powerhouse. And we've talked a little bit before as well about Canada now with additional speed on the back end. They've put Bowden back there on the blue line for this tournament. And Ken Babby talking earlier about how they're trying to get some more pace from the blue line. Adam Dixon's certainly capable of skating very well, and we saw a lot of that in the first 15.
Well, you see a lot of Dixon, interestingly. He's playing the defense position, but you're seeing him up so close, even on the faceoffs, where he's actually in a forward alignment. And sometimes I'm just wondering if that's a little bit of replication for Canada and trying to get so much of an offensive thrust. I guess sometimes it's one of those situations where it's to their good fortune because they don't have to play a lot of defense. Certainly haven't had to play a lot of defense with no shots conceded in the opening game or even this one either, where they are in a position where they can take a chance and they can gamble. And even if they do lose, they're able to get back into a position and to make sure that they can recover to take on any of the potential rush or transition game going in the opposite direction. But Canada looked to have a lot of different options, and particularly I'm impressed with watching Westlake, Bridges, as well as McGregor, the whole lineup, every single player. There hasn't been one that I've seen so far in the two games that looks to be a passenger, as you would say, in a tournament where somebody who's just filling up the numbers. They are all playing with hunger and determination in this tournament.
A lot of speed that we saw out of the Canadians in the first 15 minutes. They get the 4 goals. They'll take that 4-0 lead into the second period. And as we touched on, it will be interesting to see if the Italians try to employ a more physical brand of hockey in an effort to try to slow down the Canadians. We will have the second period coming up for you in just a matter of moments as we continue our coverage here at the Gangneung Hockey Center.
The Gangneung Ice Hockey Center is a non-smoking venue. Please ask the staff for the nearest smoking area.
강릉 아이스하키 센터는 흡연 구역입니다. 흡연은 지정된 구역에서만 가능하오니 흡연 구역을 찾으시는 분들은 경기장 안내원에게 문의하시기 바랍니다.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back Team Canada and Team Italy.
관중 여러분, 캐나다 팀과 이탈리아 팀을 환영해 주시기 바랍니다.
The players are out of the dressing room and onto the ice as we get set for period number 2. Italy trailing by 4 against a Canadian team that looked very solid in the first period of play. And we take a look at some of the ice time leaders. Brad Bowden, over 9 minutes of ice. Nobody else on the Canadian team had more than 8 minutes. We know that Coach Ken Babby will rely heavily on him and his ability to dictate the pace of the play from the blue line. But that's a heavy workload in the first period, as Bowden contributing a number of minutes.
It certainly is, but it just goes to show you just how important that position and that change of position for Bowden is for this Canadian team, because they've got him on the ice impacting play and shaping how they're going to go forward. Now we see a change in goal. Gabriel Araudo is now been given the responsibility and the duties in goal for Italy, so he will substitute for Santino Stilatano. So a difference of game plan for Italy ahead of this one as we look down to the Canadian goal, and it's still Corbin Watson, and I'm not sure, he didn't have a shot against him, so of course he didn't have a whole lot of responsibility. Equally, neither did Cash in that game against Sweden, and they had him play for 2 periods, and then he came out for the third to make sure they were balancing distribution of ice time.
Well, tough to fault the Italian goaltender Stilatano on the 3rd and 4th goals, but the first 2 could potentially be categorized as leaky, so a goaltending change. We'll see if it will change Italy's fortunes here as we drop the puck on the 2nd period.
And it's Italy who will take the opening faceoff. Cavalier will get a shot in on a Watson, so there is a shot, and it's a scramble. And there he is again, the big man, as Leperti comes in, and he's the assistant captain. And he's wanting to play that brand of hockey, as Cozzolino has got McGregor. Can he get it to him? Doesn't look as though he was able, obviously, to get to the corner. Canada keeping it in. Arsenault takes the attempt, so Canada could even gamble there a little bit. Bowden will come back. His skating ability is such that even if Corvino gets that puck, although it's gone for icing, that at least Bowden would have been able to match him stride for stride. So Arsenault takes a gamble at the offensive blue line, but that man there is back as his linchpin that gives him the protection and the cover to allow him to take those chances.
That was a nice physical play by Gianluigi Rosa, number 3, the defenseman for the Italian side, to angle the Canadian forward off the puck, gain control of it, and then ultimately it ends up getting sent down the ice for an icing call, but a nice play to make sure that the Canadians didn't get off to another very quick start by scoring early here in the 2nd period. And again, we see the physical play by Leperti, throwing the body around, trying to establish that physical brand of hockey, and the Italians now with a chance to chase a puck down, and going to the net hard is Sandro Caligaris, but the Canadians swarming, quick to get back defensively.
And they do well to get back, and they are playing a little bit with fire here now as you're starting to see the Italians getting closer to creating some trouble. There you see Caligaris trying with a forecheck to upend Dixon. Dixon now tries to lob it forward, but Planker takes that away. And now the Italians are just looking here now. A break for Bridges if he can get the puck from Dixon. It's Bridges, he's got an option across. Oh, he can't make the service to Delaney, and then he was gonna probably diagonally pass it across to Hickey, who was going down the slot area. This has worked out well, a ricochet, and into the corner. This line here of Hickey, Delaney, and Bridges are dangerous for Canada.
Planker was tripped up a little bit at the offensive blue line. I think he wanted a call there as an Italian player gets run hard into the boards. This game is certainly, the physical nature of it is picking up here early in the 2nd period. Both teams throwing their weight around as they continue to battle for the puck in the neutral zone. But we've seen the Italians towards the end of the 1st period and early into the 2nd playing a more physical brand of hockey, and the Canadians, they're not shy to match any country when it comes to physical hockey. As a breakaway opportunity here.
It's Hickey in alone, Hickey, and it's Araudo with his first save of the action. He's just taken over at starting the 2nd period. And you talk about a point-blank opportunity from Leon Hickey. He already has a goal in this game. He thought he had his 2nd one there, and Araudo had other ideas.
Really tough to come into a game cold after sitting on the bench for a period, and just getting his right shoulder on the puck is Gabriele Araudo, the 42-year-old from Turin, Italy. A phenomenal save there. He's no stranger to big pressure games. He won gold at the 2011 European Championships in Sweden. He's been a member of this team for quite some time, started playing the sport of para ice hockey in 2000. and 7. And he comes up big there. You get the feeling that another goal by Canada and things could start going the other way quickly for Italy. Italy will certainly want to score the next one. Although the Canadians with a great chance here, and the puck sliding just through the ice, unable to get a stick on it in front was Westlake.
Well, that's what a change of goaltender can do sometimes. It can change your momentum, and a save like that maybe encourages, inspires his Italian team to work a little bit harder defensively, maybe work a little bit harder with the forecheck as they're doing right now to try to give their team every opportunity to control this scoreline. But Canada will come up with it as Casalino now will come forward. So it's a little bit of a wake-up call sometimes, the change of the goaltender, suggesting that one man's got to go down because the whole team could do better. But it's a great shot there from Westlake. You just see how ferocious that intention is towards goal, and these players, like you might expect, they all love to go high up into the net. It's the more dramatic shot. It's the easier shot sometimes to release, to want to go up and to see it. It's the prettier shot to finish, but they are missing the goal equally as much sometimes with that extended follow through. And this is an icing now going against Italy as they've cleared it down the length of the ice.
Nobody likes to tell their buddies after the game, oh, you should have seen this goal I scored. I went low corner. Everyone wants to say I went top cheese, I went bar down. And we've seen the Canadians, certainly a number of players in this team capable of doing it. We saw a lot of that in the first game against Norway. A good opportunity there as well. Oftentimes much of the upper net is exposed more so than the lower net. So one reason why these players like to shoot up there, but also looks pretty on the highlight reel.
You know, we've seen a good one from this man here already as Bridges. He goes to the left hand. Good strength, good core strength to be able to maintain upright, to navigate in and around this Italian defense that's getting more rugged, getting more physical with each one of these shifts. And equally now the Canadians are starting to match that intensity physically, going right back at the Italians. This is a swarming shift, though, again, from this line of Hickey, Bridges, and Delaney. And Bridges has got some options. He elects to go wide. Is it kept in? And it's a great play to do so on the far side by Tyrone Henry to keep that live.
Oh, a bit of a flying elbow there by the Canadian player. It goes uncalled. There's number 10, Ben Delaney, getting his arm up into the head area. No call on the play. The Canadians continue to control the puck, as Italy will just be happy now to find a way to clear the zone and try to get a line change. It is the long change in the second period, which means that the offensive zone is farthest away from your bench, so it could be tricky for the Italians here. They've got some tired bodies out there.
And it is. It's a very difficult shift. They've been out here, now they're starting to labor. And when you want to play physical, what ends up happening, you end up exerting yourself, you get exhausted, you start making mental mistakes as well. And they're doing well, Italy, just to break up this Canadian possession. And they might try to, but for a second, just one player can get off the ice. And DePauli is able to have a substitution. And one new, and now a second one. Winkler has decided he's got to go as well, as it was just getting to be over 2 minutes that that Italian 5-pack was on the ice. Now Bowden out for Canada. They're doing well, are Italy, just to form this defense in front of Arauto. And you've got to believe as well that save that he made on Hickey to start this third period, they were inspired by that, his teammates in front of him.
You get the sense that something's coming here for Canada. They've had so much consecutive zone time, and it gets tiring mentally when you're the defending team and you're constantly running around in your own end. When you're in your own defensive end, it's often more tiring for the defending team than the attacking team, because you're always trying to anticipate. Things are getting a little bit nasty here as Kevin Sorley comes flying in to the pack and lays the body down as well. And we'll see if there's a penalty that comes out of this or not. But certainly a physical nature of this game is picking up. Canada with a 4-0 lead.
And a little bit of the smack being laid down in that last shift there. Both teams picking up a penalty in the action as it got a little bit frenetic there in behind the goal. And that physical aspect of play for Canada, it's number 11. It is Adam Dixon, and for Italy, the penalty going to Andrea McCree. And McCree in there as well. They both just decided to lock and load a little bit. We're suggesting it's 15 there. The score clock saying that it was Dixon that was involved, but nonetheless, both teams penalized and some extra room on the ice in which to try and work this Canadian offense that they are in the zone right now. Maybe for Italy, they just get a chance to try and get another shot themselves. Oh, what a good play. A bang-bang deflection. It was Westlake who was just providing the udder there, or rather the rudder, just to try to move that one into place and just guide that deflection.
Some nice stick handling we saw from McGregor to get that puck to Westlake. He went under the sled and slid it cross ice. Westlake at the far post, unable to bank it in. And these two guys have been so good for Canada in this tournament offensively. And another big hit as Westlake crosses the blue line. These Italian defenders starting to step up a little bit on the Canadians as a big hit was thrown there by Gianluca Cavaliere, the 45-year-old defenseman from Turin. Italy not shy to throw their weight around, and again, it's one area where they're hoping to try to compete with the Canadians. It's tough for them to do it in the speed game. It's tough for them to do it in the skill game, but they figure if they can out-hit them and they can start laying the body down, maybe it'll change their fortunes.
Well, what happens when you start having the body played against you? Of course, it's pride, isn't it? And a lot of times, if you get knocked off the puck or you have a player knock you down in competition, it's just straight testosterone runs through the veins, and then you start worrying about trying to get back at a guy, and then you've lost shape in your position and your discipline and how you're trying to play the game, and things just start to get a little disjointed. And that's exactly what the Italians are trying to do, distract this Canadian offense from thinking about scoring goals and worrying more about trying to get into one-on-one battles with them and see if they can't junk this game up a little bit, because it has been the Canadian offensive show so far, but it has slowed down a little bit for sure in this second period. They still have it. This is Bridges with Delaney. This is the unit here with Hickey. It's Bowden on his own, but you're seeing all of this good straight body work coming in. Oh, and a deflection to the backside. I think it's Hickey who gets a redirection of it. Araujo stays with it and just controls that from being deflected into the, well, it was inside the right post that he was trying to find a way, but what a well-crafted play from Canada.
That's a phenomenal save from Araujo to dive across to the far post and get his body in front of that puck. Keep it a 4-0 game. A tremendous display of athleticism from the 42-year-old. Both Italian goaltenders north of 40 years old, veterans, and certainly more than capable still athletically to come across and make a huge save there. Araujo does. That is just phenomenal stuff by the Italian goaltender. Again, you get the impression that at 4-0, is this game already out of reach for Italy? Maybe, probably, but 5-0 certainly doesn't make it any better. And the Italians are showing a lot more life in the second period than they did in the first. More physical. They've had a little bit of zone time in the offensive end. We'll see if they can generate something here on an offensive zone draw.
Well, the interesting part about playing physically is, of course, it takes more out of you energy-wise. You only have a certain amount that you can bring to a game, but if you are also, of course, up and down the ice and all of that energy that you're expending, but then, of course, exerting yourself physically against your opponent, well, you're going to pay a heavier tax. So can the Italians stay that way and not concede now with the power game from Canada that comes at them again? This is Bridges down this left wing this time. The feed out front, and the service was good. Maybe not the full touch of it from Armstrong.
Getting a little bit chippy there as well as going hard to the net was Armstrong, and shoved into the boards now is Tyrone Henry, and we're seeing the physical play pick up again. It just continues to ramp up in this game. Delayed offside here on Canada. They'll have to clear the zone. But we're starting to get to a point where it's getting a little bit chippy, and both teams will have to make sure they don't start getting into penalty territory. And another big hit at the Canadian blue line. It's Kevin Sorley. He's out of the box and he's throwing his weight around. This game is starting to get very interesting.
Well, he did. He almost came up with a cross body there, didn't he? The way he was able just to punctuate his hands. He's got the puck underneath his skate blades there. That's what upends him. But he would have been in a position there from Winkler just to have him. He was kind of like a sitting duck there, was he was upended with that puck temporarily. But this is turning into a more physical matchup, and you expect that there could be a big collision here yet to come, where both of these teams are really testing one another and looking for that appetite to see if they can't just zero in on somebody, put the bullseye on somebody's chest and blast right through them.
Another big collision at center ice there as it's Tyrone Henry for Canada bumping into Werner Winkler from the Italian side. You do get the sense that the next hit's going to potentially be a big one, although Armstrong has a great opportunity here, and he rings it off the crossbar and off the far post. Double post there, and it somehow stays out. That was a wicked wrist shot from Rob Armstrong, looking to score in his World Championship debut.
And that was double chimes off of the bar and post, and we'll have a look at it again. And we will see just the Canadian player that gets the opportunity. It may have been, it's McGregor maybe who gets the crack at it there. And it's Arado who tested. It's the feed here from Westlake. I think it comes down, and then the shot here from that left side, and it goes off of the crossbar and then off of the post.
The officials are reviewing the play right now. I think it'll be a quick review as you see it clearly doesn't go into the back of the net, and the official waving no goal. It was such a hard shot. It's tough to see with the naked eye, but from our vantage point where we're situated here, we have a pretty good look at it, and it goes crossbar, post, and out. That is a world-class shot from the 20-year-old from Ottawa, Ontario, Rob Armstrong.
So Bowden will take this one. Bridges gets a little bit indignant there as he's having the puck taken away from him. And then across now the shot as it's Delaney who tries to get the cooker going and to release one in on goal there. And now for a second, Italy trying to construct some of their own offensive play. Delaney, it looked as though he was going to try to cut loose and head straight through. It's one thing we haven't seen necessarily from Canada that you see from the Americans. You see that speed that comes across that blue line, and they can really just open up defenses. Canada have had to do much of their puck movement in the offensive zone, and that's great. But if you can just slide right through the opponent's defense without having to contest all of this zone time, well, even the better, as here they come in the transition game again. This is Hickey, who's going to take a crack at it. Arado, what another dynamic save as he comes falling across, tries to control the rebound, but it's now for the Italians to clear. Arsenault is just trying to hold that line, maybe just a little bit long. And we'll just await the arrival of it. I think it's just a hand pass, I think, is being indicated from the referee that it was a Canadian player who touched it. And so we have an opportunity to pause. It's Canada with 2:29 to go, 4-0 up over Italy.
Nothing. Canada has the lead here with 2:29 to go in period number 2. We see Leopardi, 73 on the Italian side. He's been the most physical player taking the draw against Greg Westlake, one of the more offensively gifted players for Canada. That's a matchup that Italy likes, as we've seen the energy and the physicality really ramp up here in the second period.
And it certainly has been a game plan for Italy to play that, and it's worked to their advantage because we see those first period goals that come from Canada. That's where they got their 4. They have nothing to show offensively for their work in the second period, and almost 13 minutes gone now. So that game plan from Italy has worked well, and it hasn't depleted them so that they can't actually keep up with Canada anymore and skate with them anymore. They've done a great job just to maintain tempo and working to just keep the pace with the action here in this second period. Canada will win the face-off again. Cozzolino has Westlake to the wide side, and Westlake immediately met there on the blue line by Planker. And Cozzolino's got to work now to just get out of the zone so that Canada can regroup and attack. And that's across that offensive blue line. They need some speed here. This is Westlake who's going to provide it. The offload here. This is beautiful stuff from Canada. Dixon. And can he get it through Arado? No, he can't. Or right on top of it is the referee, and he is keeping a good eye as the Norwegian. Now the hands are getting up, and equally maybe a few punches being thrown there as frustration is now starting to mount for Canada that they've not been able to score.
You can see this coming for a while. The intensity of this game has really hit a fever pitch here in the second period, and it wasn't going to be long before some punches were thrown and things got a little extra chippy. And you see the stick there from Caligaros gets up into the face of Dominic Cozzolino. He doesn't like it. They start throwing jabs at each other, and in comes Tyler McGregor, number 8. He gets into the mix as well. Greg Westlake there also for Canada. So sticks flying, gloves flying, and you can only expect things to ramp up even more as this game continues. 1:42 to go in period number 2. Italy has really been the team that said, hey, you know what? We're going to start chucking our weight around. We're going to start throwing some hits and see what happens. Canada's responded, and the end result is you're going to end up with some mix-ups like that as tempers start to flare a little bit.
Well, the confidence for Italy is increasing, and they have a victory already over Sweden. It was a tight game. They found a way to muscle that second goal in to be victorious. But right now, they feel better after a difficult first period, conceding the 4 goals. And they feel like they can match Canada right now, the way this second 15 is playing out. And so that just gives further encouragement to Italy to keep playing the brand of hockey that they are.
One thing we've seen the Italian defenders do, especially in the second period, as Canada's whistled for an offside, is when Canada is entering the zone at the offensive blue line, the Italian defenders are not shy to cut across the middle of the ice, try to throw a big hit. There was a play made famous by the New Jersey Devils back in the early 2000s with Niedermeyer and Scott Stevens. It's something that they like to do a lot of, and you're seeing the Italians coming across the middle as well, trying to throw some big hits. So something to watch as well as we continue play a offensive zone draw here, won by the Italians. They get a shot that gets whistled wide, and Canada will look to clear the puck again.
Inside the last minute of the second period, and this is now Dixon again, surging always offensively, coming forward. Bridges just tries to poke one pass this time and just kind of pool cues it forward. We've seen that sort of being done by Sidney Crosby recently in the highlights in the National Hockey League, just elevating that puck with one hand and just trying to shovel it with the natural momentum in behind it. And he's got the strength to be able to elevate it with one hand, even on the backhand with a punching shot like that. But this is now Dixon again, feeding it strong across the Bridges. Bridges will roll and turn towards the net. And another feed, what a play to the backside of Dixon. He scores himself, but not the puck.
What a great play by number 6, Gianluca Cavaliere, the captain for the Italian team. The goaltender was beat, but the defender was there and making a huge stop for the Italian team with just a couple seconds left in the second period. And the 45-year-old, he missed the 2015 World Championships after breaking 4 ribs in a pre-tournament game. So you know he's fired up to be participating here in the 2017 Para Ice Hockey World Championships. Terrific defensive play there to keep this a 4-goal game.
2 seconds, it's just one last, and it'd have to be really quick and impressive. There's 3 defenders for Italy in front of goal to make sure nothing was going to be fed across into a central position. It would have need to have been an immediate shot, and a little bit of the hands get up. as Italy tried to get a little bit of a push in on McGregor. McGregor and Larch lock horns at the end of that period, but ultimately, after 30 minutes of play, it is a very impressive scoreline for Canada after 15, 4-0, and that's after the further 15. And they will retain that lead going in for the second intermission, and you'll see an American, or rather an Italian team that actually are growing in confidence as this game wears on.
They certainly are, and given the physical nature that they're playing with, they know that they can go toe-to-toe in that department with Canada, and they've shown they're not going to back down. And they are throwing their weight around, and it is certainly getting the confidence boosted up for them. It will be tough for them to put 4 and eventually 5 goals into the back of the net, at least if they want to beat Canada in this game. But at the very least, they're showing a great deal of intensity and emotion in this game. And you saw at the end there a little bit of jostling at the final whistle. We'll see what the third period has in store for us. It's 4-0 Canada after 2. Nothing Canada with the lead after 2 periods of play. There was no scoring in the second period, but that does not mean it was not an entertaining second period, as we saw these two teams going at it physically, battling. The intensity of this game really picked up. The Italians started to push that intense physical play right from the beginning of the period, and it was a bit of a carryover from the end of the first. The Canadians started to match it, and by the end of this period, you could tell, I don't think these teams like each other very much.
Well, it all started. They changed the goaltender. They brought in Gabriel Arado, who they played in the game against Sweden, and then he made an incredible save here in this first period where he had Hickey come right in on him, and that kind of started things. And then you saw the confidence from the Italians grow, as this is just some of the opening stages of that second period. So remember, it was 4-0 for Canada. They came out of the gates as they did in their opening game so quickly. And then the action here in the second period where they carry on, but they weren't able to actually get another goal. And this was a save here. That was the breakaway where he comes into the game, and it's his first real test, and Hickey was able just to carve a route in on goal, and it was almost effectively a 2-on-0. And then he makes that tremendous save. And then another one where Westlake just tries to drop it backside for McGregor to get to, but Italy came back into good position, and they recovered well too. So this was a good period for Italy, particularly against such a strong opposition, one of the powerhouses in para ice hockey in Canada. And then the contact like that, if you're able to hit big superstars like Greg Westlake coming across the line and doesn't even see it coming, well, that's only going to encourage the Italians that they can play that brand, and it might catch the Canadians out. But this was another great save, and I think it ended up getting wrapped up into, there was Hickey. He was trying to provide that redirection. It maybe didn't quite come off as clean, but there's a big hit by Sorley as he lays the body on the Italians and returns the favor.
A lot of big hits that we're seeing in this highlight package from the second period action here. The Gangneung Hockey Center. Again, no scoring in the period, but you watch the Italians stepping up there at the blue line. What that can do is create opportunity, odd man rushes for Canada, and you see Rob Armstrong going crossbar, post. They reviewed it to see if it was a goal. It was not, as it stays out. But again, another play stepping up there on Westlake. He takes a hit to make a play, and Armstrong can absolutely wire it. He does just that. It stays out of the net. And that is one reason why the score remains 4-0 for Canada. But the physical play in this period, as you see some pushing and shoving, this is really when it got to its nastiest. As Caligaris, the Italian number 9, comes in, McGregor in behind him as well, and things starting to get really chippy. But the Italians are the ones that started to dictate this physical kind of play in this game. Canada obviously happy to answer and play that game as well. And we really saw at the end of the second period things start to get heated. We'll see what the third period has in store. One thing Italy could not do in the second, same as the first, is get a shot on goal. 18-0 are the shots for Canada. They're dominating in the circle as well. But I think you have to be encouraged, if you're the Italians, that you kept Canada off the board and you were able to throw your weight around a little bit. Entirely.
I mean, you look at there, they actually aren't recorded officially with a shot. We thought maybe that they'd had at least one or two, maybe just a clearing puck, and it wasn't actually classified as a shot. But Italy certainly were a team that were worthy of their opponent in this game, which obviously is Canada. And the way they played that second period, it was a scoreless draw. And with that, they'll be encouraged, and they'll be buoyed coming into this third period that they can in fact hang with one of the best teams in the world. And the Italians, of course, will be expecting to come through automatically and finishing one of these top 5 positions. If they can keep this scoreline really within a half dozen, maybe score one themselves, well, that would be a real victory for them of sorts. I think to think that they're going to recover this 4-goal lead, well, I think that's probably a tall request. But playing a game that is effective against Canada, and it's a physical game, well, that was obvious to see in that second 15 minutes.
Before you can score, you have to put a puck on net. So that will be objective number 1 for the Italian side. They trail 4-0. We continue our coverage here in the second intermission in just a few moments. Welcome back. Canada with a 4-0 lead after 2 periods. No scoring in the second period, but no shortage of action as this game really, the intensity started to ramp up between the two sides, and it will be interesting to see what the third period holds. We were just moments away, but we did have one game earlier today that we'll talk about briefly. The United States of America playing its first game of the tournament. They defeated Sweden handily, 7-0 the score. Although, if it wasn't for the Swedish goaltender, it could have been a lot worse. 47-0 were the shots in that game.
Oh, it certainly could have been, and you had expected, really, that the Americans were going to be able to beat Sweden by double digits in that game. It wasn't to be, and a big part of it is because of Ulf Nilsson, because of the way he played in goal, and as you say, 47 shots in on him, and of course, the 7 goals that they concede. So that was the opening results, and the interesting bit as we look ahead to the final match that will be played today as well. It's Germany taking on Norway, and that really is, as you look at the table here right now, Canada, who has a total of 13 goals scored in this competition, and it will all set up because tomorrow, tomorrow it's the game USA take on Italy. So what an interesting top of the group is already developing, and equally at the bottom as well, because the final fixture today is Norway and Germany. And won't that be interesting just to see how the Germans respond, and equally whether or not Norway is still licking their wounds after what was a difficult day at the office when they took on this Canadian team yesterday in day 1, and it was a 9-0 defeat. So it's starting to already have complexion, this tournament, and really starting to have a little bit of a tale as to how it's going to shape out come the end and who's going to fit where. It's going to be slippery, and every game and every period that you put in this tournament is really going to count come the end, which is ultimately about getting that passport through to Pyeongchang in the Paralympic tournament next March.
Top 5 teams automatically qualify for the 2018 Paralympics, and that's where when you get into Germany-Norway matchups, if you're both of those teams, neither one has won yet. They lost on opening day. They'll want to get those victories in the head-to-head matchups. We have the third period from Canada-Italy coming up in just a few moments when we return.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back Team Canada and Team Italy.
관중 여러분, 캐나다 팀과 이탈리아 팀을 환영해 주시기 바랍니다.
Welcome back. We are under a minute away from puck drop on period number 3. The Italians trailing the Canadians by a score of 4-0. And to give you an idea, as we look in goal, it is Gabriele Araudo again. He started the game for the Italians in the second, he came into the game in the second period for the Italians. It was Santino Stilitano that started the game for Italy. So second straight period of action. And to give you an idea of what the pace of play has been like in this game, the longest shift length for any Canadian player so far, on average, is 1 minute and 22 seconds. There are 6 players on the Italian team who are averaging 2-minute plus shifts. So what does that tell you? It tells you the Canadians have done a great job of hemming the Italians in their own end and keeping tired bodies on the ice. 6 players from Italy averaging 2 minutes plus per shift. And that's an idea of how dominant Canada has been so far, as we are underway for third period action. A very physical second period, and we'll see if that continues here into the final frame.
And interestingly about that, it just shows you just the conditioning of the Italians to be able to have that length of a shift and to have been able to have controlled the scoreline as they did in that second period. And first save is made by Arado in this third period. That's Westlake, who goes low, tries to go low to the glove hand side. And now Bowden, with control of it, just feeds it down for McGregor. McGregor, a danger man, into the body. And the quick rebound opportunity is gobbled up by the Italian defense. And they've been quite tidy with that, recovering well. Now they're looking to try to advance here as it's just slotted forward. And now skating onto it is Caligaris. And he is the speed man for Italy. And as he doesn't quite get the space that he needs in which to operate in, as Canada respond and try to close down what looked to be a moment of an Italian attack. And Rosa just calmly just plays this puck on. This is good service here to the far side. Corvino's going to get a shot in, and there is now officially. That is, of course, a registered shot in on goal, as Corbin Watson will make officially his first save. And he's been active, but certainly, as we've seen by the official shot count, not particularly with the shot department from Italy. But this is a much better Italian start to this third period.
Well, getting a shot on goal is a step in the right direction. Corbin Watson, when you're a goaltender, you want to feel the puck a little bit. You want to get into the game. So he'll be happy to make a relatively easy save there. A 30-year-old goaltender for Canada from Kingsville, Ontario. Was actually given the key to the city in Kingsville in 2013. He is a tremendous goaltender. He's been playing the sport for nearly a decade now. He makes his first stop of the game. We'll see how busy he has to be as the Canadians are looking for a 5th goal, and it's Hickey on the rush. Centering pass, and they score, going hard to the net. It's Billy Bridges who puts the puck home. No mistake, running over the Italian goaltender in the process. Everybody's all right. Canada has a 5-0 lead.
And Bridges goes to the net like his head is on fire, and that's a bucket of water, as he is just totally determined to get to that puck first. And he finishes it, and so does he finish on Arado as well. He goes hard into the post. A good thing that those posts aren't as well or as affixed as they once used to be in time. Safety first, and both Arado and Bridges feeling the brunt of that force as he goes to the net, but he's able to get it across the line. In fact, before the net dislodges, but the feed here out to Bridges. And you knew that Bridges was going to go to the net with total purpose, and that's the way he has played this game, like a bulldog today for Canada.
Bridges with his 2nd goal of the game. He's got 3 points now. He has been an offensive force so far for Canada. No surprise, he was terrific for the Canadian team in the 2015 World Championships as well. He was named to the All-Star team at the 2002, 2008, 2012 World Championships. He is a veteran of the sport. He's been playing it since 1996, 33 years old. And he can still fly out there and wire the puck as well. We saw some great speed as he got to the front of the net and showed some goal scorer touch.
So Liam Hickey gives him the return favor. It was earlier that Bridges took a shot, and well, he gave that toe drag, didn't he, on the 4th goal that Hickey ended up finishing off. And this time it's the great service from Hickey to get it to Bridges, and there was just no stopping him. He was like a runaway train, and you saw really just how relentless he was, the way he went into the goal. And he was totally set on making sure he was in a good position to be able to take that puck and to slot it in the open side. And he was not concerned about slowing up. He knew that the net or the body of Arado, or if it had to be the post, would do it for him. And the way he was going, and maybe he had to go right through the end of the rink, he might have taken that chance as well, as he just really showed no caution there, did he?
That was a nice play. The centering pass was a little bit behind him, so he had to shift his weight a little bit backwards to corral that puck and put it into the back of the net. It wasn't as simple as just a pure tap-in, so a nice skill play there by Bridges. He showed some skill earlier with the toe drag, and he showed some skill there scoring his second goal of the game as well.
And you'd have to say right now, with the way things have gone, that Bridges would probably be the nod for the player of the game for Canada. Just the way he started the scoring. Oh my, as McGregor right now is just doing the Texas two-step here, getting in and around these Italian defenders, as he just had all the moves there on the dance floor, just guiding his way away from trouble. And now Westlake is in control of duties with the puck, and he'll get it back to McGregor. And all out front, the attempt was try to redirect it late, as that was as much of a pass as it was a potential shot. And it was designed really for McGregor just to link on to the end of it. Or rather, sorry, Westlake. It was McGregor who fed it across in front of the net. Some good work, though, from Canada. Just try to assert themselves without getting anything from all of their efforts in that second period. They'll be glad to at least get a goal on the board and see if they can't continue to maybe to build this scoreline. They'll be looking at that 7-0 score that USA established against Sweden, and that'll be something they'll at least want to match. Cabulaire is just smothered down by Dixon. Dixon immediately has Caligaris on it, but this is a feed up for Hickey, and look at Bridges just bursting into space. Gonna make this a 2-on-1 is Bridges. Bridges got a hat-trick opportunity, backside play for Hickey. And these two right now are the dynamic duo for Canada in this hockey game, as Bridges and Hickey are a 1-2 punch that cannot be touched by the Italians, and they have just been ripping through this game, and they find the back of the net again.
Well, as soon as Hickey got that puck, he knew that Bridges was going to beat his man, number 6, Cavalier, up the ice. He found him, and Bridges, he's got a phenomenal shot, but he elects to go back to Hickey, who has a wide open side of the net to tuck the puck into. I think everybody was expecting a shot from Bridges, as we take a look at Bridges' goal from a little earlier as well. So here's Hickey, he gets it over to Bridges. Everyone's thinking shoot. He doesn't, he passes. Hickey buries it. Bridges has 4 points. And the offense continues to roll from the top players of the Canadian team, as Hickey has an opportunity here again. But a nice play there to break it up by Nils Larch, 19-year-old from Italy.
It's the body control from the Canadians that is becoming very obvious in this hockey game. You saw it from McGregor in the prior moments towards that goal, the way he was able to navigate, negotiate this Italian defense with his body positioning and the puck control and just the skill. It's the skating, really, isn't it, and how they're able to maneuver themselves on their sleds. And it's a real noticeable distinction here from individual players on this Canadian side, that they can just make you miss even when you think you've got them in your sights. And Dixon is in the sights of the Italians there, stepping up. That was Planker, who just tries to control some of his momentum. Canada need to be careful here. Too many men on the ice, potentially. They get away with one. There is not a call of too many players on the ice, so they maybe just get a little bit of the rub of the green there, as just looking past that one was the Norwegian official.
The one thing I think that separates, you look at the American team, you look at the Canadians perennially playing for gold in these tournaments, it seems. The one thing that separates them from some of the other teams is the ability of these players to work the puck underneath their sled and go stick to stick, as you just see Armstrong do that as he gets over the zone. Going under the sled, if there's a defender on your one side and you're able to do that, you have the skill to go underneath your sled and shift your body weight. It allows you to dodge that defender and make a play with your other stick. I think the Canadians and the Americans do that better than anybody, and it's one reason why they're able to have some offensive success in great numbers as they do against some of these other nations.
Yeah, the individual skill set, the fundamental individual skill set, and the stick handling, and what comes with that also, as well as we talk about that skating ability and that body control. It's very obvious the individual, well, just the superior nature of it, as here comes Bowden across this line. And they all use these sleds. They are an extension of their body. You don't get the sense that they are just equipment, that they are in fact their body that they're using to skate and contour their way up the ice. As there again, Sorty just has the flying elbow out there, the people's elbow, and fortunately for him, he gets away with one.
Sorley's a little sour, I'll be honest. In the second period, he came flying in to a scrum behind the net, took a penalty. There's a big hit as well. Sorley wasn't shy to mix it up with the Italian Bruno Balacetti, the 43-year-old forward. This is starting to get chippy here as the game 6-0 has pretty much been decided. As Sorley's got a burr in his bonnet, he goes off into the Canadian bench, but he's having a little bit of trouble getting into the bench area, actually. I'm not sure if it's an equipment issue or whether he took a little bit of a shot there and isn't feeling great himself, but we'll keep an eye on that as he's now tucked into the backside of the Canadian bench talking to the coach.
Well, he certainly went into that hit with reckless abandon, didn't he? And maybe he came off worse for wear potentially with it, but this is fed down to Westlake. Westlake up high! And another goal for Canada as they've got a 7 spot. And now they're having to punctuate that with getting Rosa unlocked away from Westlake. But the feed, as there's maybe penalties coming after this play, but Westlake finishes it in style for Canada, and they have now 7 goals scored.
Well, anytime you see Westlake, you talk about that underneath the sled stick handling that Canada's so skillful at, and you see it there as Westlake left hand goes upstairs over the goaltender. And some chippy play after the whistle as well, as Sorley is still being looked at on the Canadian bench. Rosa didn't like it, Westlake didn't like it, they jab at each other, and this has just been building and percolating since late in the first period. Westlake's going to go to the penalty box for Canada. And right now there's no Italian going to the box. It seems that Italy will go to the power play. Again, if you can see in the top left-hand side of the screen, Sorley being looked at by the Canadian coach at the end of the bench as he went off the ice in a little bit of discomfort. Westlake gets a 2-minute penalty for the jabs that were taken after the whistle with Rosa.
Team Canada penalty number 12, Greg.
We'll continue to monitor the situation with Kevin Sorley, but this game is getting a little bit chippy, and the officials do a good job in just taking one player in an attempt to diffuse the animosity that is rising between these two teams.
And you see the forecheck coming in from Italy, and they've got good body weight as they are able to, particularly with some speed in behind them, as you're seeing there as well, all of the tussling that is happening, and that's going to be banked out, and they can do that the length of the ice. They got Westlake in there, so the very rare combination of a top shelf goal followed up by a penalty, and you get to celebrate it by sitting in the penalty box.
That's about as Canadian as it gets right there. You score a goal, you take a penalty, and you tip your hat and you say, there you go. That's Canadian style hockey.
And Corbin Smith holds it long enough for a whistle, and now there'll be a face-off to his left. And 1 minute and 11 seconds remaining on the power play, officially by the score clock here in the arena. 109 there on our display. This is now Arsenault, who's out there on defensive duties with Bowden, Cozzolino, and Bridges. That line of Cozzolino, Bridges with McGregor has really been a thorn in the Italian side today, and equally rather, well, Bridges plays on that unit with Hickey rather, and it's Cozzolino with Westlake and McGregor that have been a real great line. But all of those players involved in the scoring today, and Canada enjoying a much more productive third period with 3 goals so far. And they've played that one in for an icing, and so Italy just kind of come out of that spin trying to avoid the pressure coming from the Canadian forecheck, and they end up just kind of cutting it loose for an icing all the way down. And that's on the power play, so that suits the Canadians just fine. They'll have an offensive zone face-off, down 1 man. And that's an example of just playing defense in the offensive zone right now, as Hickey's just trying to smother that puck, control it long enough, and force the Italians to have to work hard to get it from him. And Arsenault will finish his check on Werner Winkler. And Bowden's got all sorts of room to skate it. Bowden, I think, is just going to find a lane himself. I think if he wants to, he can just take on this Italian defense with speed. They try to hook that puck under their control. Good strong hit there. Canada just keeping a watchful eye as now Westlake back out on the ice, and it's 5 against 5, and they did a good job killing that one. Westlake is looking as though he's just turning on the jets here, looking to get rolling. He's got Delaney and Hickey remain on the ice, but they just get ahead of themselves and they'll send themselves offside. 4:41 remain. Canada 7-0 up over Italy. We'll be back in a moment. And back to action. It's Smith out on the draw for Canada, and he took that against Radici. Hasn't got a lot of ice time, Roberto Radici, in this one, but the physical game is still being employed by Canada inside these last 5 minutes of play, and it has been the Italians who initiated that with great success in that second period, and you can see it's a tactic that they'll want to continue to employ throughout this tournament. But Canada found a way to adjust into this third period, and they've come out here with goals from Bridges, Hickey, and Westlake, and really started to assert themselves again offensively. And it's in the corner for Smith, and he's a little bit patient, isn't he, as he decides how he wants to come out of there. Now Armstrong to feed across to Dixon. Dixon in a good position, but he gets pickpocketed just at the nick of time, and there's going to be a penalty coming up against Italy as a result. Corbin Watson makes his way all the way to the bench for Canada in favor of another out skater, and they've got such firm control. It's worth the effort for Watson to get there, as they'll take another shot here. Arado with a touch of it, but they've not blown it. They've still allowed this play to continue as Dixon does a little bit of a do-si-do and takes that puck in behind as he passes it to himself.
I think it could be a hooking penalty coming up here against the Italians, and that's exactly what it is, as a Canadian player was doing a good job of getting into the middle of the ice, tried to get a shot off, and you saw some stick-on-arm contact there that resulted in the penalty. So Canada now with a chance to go to the power play as Bruno Balacetti, a 43-year-old, makes his way to the penalty box. Canada 7 goals already in the game, an opportunity to put in an 8th here as Westlake lines up to take the draw.
And it's McGregor, like a dog on a bone, trying to get to that puck, and tenacious. But it is fallen for the moment. It's to Cozzolino, who makes a feed, and McGregor will have to just return to his blue line, have a look at just his options as he wants to attack going forward here, as he just gives a little bit of a tap of that puck, sets it up a little bit better. And now Dixon. Dixon's got a great shooting lane. Dixon goes down low, and Arado again throws out the full extension, and there you see the thrusting of the Italians trying to punctuate that stoppage in play against the Canadians, who go hard to the net looking for rebounds.
Well, Cozzolino was in a good position to potentially score a goal, but you see he can't get it off his stick right away. There was no opportunity for a one-timer, and by the time that he did get the puck on net, Araujo was able to get over, get his body in position to make the save. The officials do a good job understanding fully what's already gone on in this game, of getting in there and making sure none of the extracurricular activities take place.
Canada with a minute and 20 still on this power play. They'll have to go back now and retrieve it, as it's been cleared down well by Italy. Corbin Watson just placing it out there for his assistant captain Adam Dixon to come forward with it. And you see how well he handles that puck Now he just laid up for Bridges, and Bridges with so much purpose. When he gets the puck on his stick, it's just generally straight lines from Bridges. He's capable of getting in and around you and if he has to, but he loves to play a power game. He's got a shot in from distance there. Hickey is the next one to try to get to it for Canada. And Laperti tries to get it clean and out of the zone, but Dixon just traps that one. And Dixon in a good place into the body. And Arado, I'm not sure that he knew he had it still within his grasp. Gets full control of it and sets it down for another face-off.
That's a nice save there, and you're right, he didn't really know where the puck was after it hit him. He's able to block it and prevent a big, fat, juicy rebound from leaking out there. As you see Dixon getting to the top of that circle and letting a shot go. Nice play to get his body in front of it by Arado, the goaltender. Doesn't really know where it is. Hickey's going in for the rebound, but the Italian goaltender able to cover up.
2 minutes left to play in the third.
And it's one of the things that comes from the position, as the goaltenders often are taking that side-on sort of fetal position as they kind of corral around the puck. They do a good job of making sure that there isn't a whole lot of extra opportunity for the offense to pounce on those loose rebounds. And if you look at percentage-wise, about 60% of the time, the goals that are scored in the sport are off the rebounds. If you can limit those, you've got a great chance at trying to limit the opposition's output. But this is a chance one more time. It's underneath him, and I'm not sure if he knows exactly if it is as the scramble continues. But again, it's that puck control from Italy in goal that just prevents further opportunity.
Well, Arado's been pretty solid. We saw Stilitano in the first period, the Italian goaltender. The first 2 goals he gave up, they were nice shots, yes, by the Canadians, but at the same time, they're stoppable pucks. You won't fault him on the 3rd and the 4th goal. I think Stilitano's played pretty well, or rather Arado's played pretty well since coming in for Stilitano, and he appears to be the better of the 2 goaltenders for the Italian side, and a nice job there, swarming defensively by the Italians as well to mitigate any kind of offensive chance off the rebound. As there's 1 minute and 20 seconds left in this game. Canada with a 7-0 lead. We already saw the United States with a 7-0 victory earlier today. The other powerhouse in para ice hockey, Canada, looking for a 7-0 victory of their own. Although the Italians would love to get 1 on the board, they've only got 1 shot on goal in this game. Laperti, physical player, going up against Sorley. It's good to see Sorley back on the ice after he went to the bench in some discomfort. There's some physical players on the ice now with about 1 minute, with 48 seconds to go. So we'll see what happens towards the end of this game.
It is good to see Sorley back, the way he went into that collision and just wanting to play. He was just as happy to get involved in locking horns with some of these Italian players. And we thought for a moment that maybe he had come off worse and was potentially suffering from an injury. But this is a good shift from Italy to try to finish this game with some offensive zone possession, but this has fallen for Sorley to get to first. He's going to be tracked down by 3 Italian players that immediately had his number, and we're making sure that nothing further was going to come from
Here he comes. Sorley is going for a big hit there on Laperti. These two have been going at it all game long, and Sorley wanted to do some damage. We have a penalty coming up now. Things are getting chippy. We thought this might happen. 1.8 seconds left in this game. With the personnel on the ice, we had a feeling that this could potentially happen, and Sorley was looking to run this Italian player through the boards.
Yes, and he threw out the old Matador trick, and Sorley bit, unfortunately, and there was the arrival of the end boards on the other side of it, as just holding up in time was Laperti, and you could see he was trying to stamp Laperti's number 73 on the end boards and just couldn't quite find the mark.
Cozzolino to the box for Canada. Takes a penalty towards the end of that play. 1 second left, so just semantics at this point, as Canada is about to win this game by a score of 7-0. 1.8 seconds to go. And wow, Kevin Sorley tried to absolutely run Gregory Laperti through the boards, through the stands, and out of the building with that hit. He ended up smacking his head pretty good into the boards as well. It's been an entertaining game from a physical standpoint, no question about it.
And this will be the last drop of the puck in this hockey game, and hopefully things are tame and tempers remain under control, and it looks as though they will be, as Canada have taken care of business here. And they've come out and they've matched the same score line that the Americans had over Sweden earlier on today in game number 1 in this competition. So the Italians very good in that second period, particularly. They concede 3 goals in that third period, but it was again about the quick, fast start. Canada do a good job of starting the games on time.
They did, and they got off to an early lead. They got off to a big lead in the first period, scoring those 4 goals. This was by far the most physical game that we've seen in this tournament. Italy really tried to push the physical play. Canada responded. They said, you know what, we can play that game too if you want, and they did. Neither team backed down, and definitely the most physical game that we've seen in the tournament. Italy doing well against a team that can simply outskill them and outskate them to keep it at a 7-0 game. They don't get blown out. Goal differential, again, does matter in this tournament in potential tie-breaking situations. So all in all, a pretty solid effort from Italy. I like the fact that they came out and played as physical as they did in this game, as we get set now for player of the game presentations.
And it will be interesting to see. I think you look at the Canadian lineup, there are a number of options. Liam Hickey equally was strong. I think when we last kind of spoke about this idea just inside the third period, we talked about the possibility of Bridges really looking to be the player. Potentially had scored a couple of goals, but so did Hickey in the end. And so both of those players were in and around the action as we saw this Canadian offense really start to pick up speed again in the third period. And we look as well across at the Italians. Maybe Arado coming in, even though he had 2 periods worth of work, potentially one to note for with the Italian performance today.
Arado did play well, I thought, when he came in to start the second period. Certainly could have been more goals for Canada if not for him. I like Gregory Leopardi, 73 for Italy. He was just angry in this game. He was throwing his weight around, and he was a physical force for the Italians. There's not many players that generated much of anything offensively, just 1 or 2 shots on goal, but I like the game that Leopardi brought. He was bringing it hard against this Canadian team, and Billy Bridges again for Canada, just so good offensively.
It'll be the presentation to be first. So it is going to go to Arado, who just had a couple periods worth of work, but that first save he makes on Liam Hickey, you got a sense that that changed the momentum and the sense of themselves. Maybe even the confidence grew for Italy after he makes that save, and then they respond with getting more and more physical, and they were able to ultimately, in that second period in which he led, they were able to keep the Canadians scoreless and off the score sheet. So I think that's exactly what is probably being acknowledged there, with him getting the Player of the Game award. And although he concedes 3 in the third period, really I'm not sure that he could have done much with any of those shots that he did concede to the Canadians. So a well-earned award there, and probably, as you say, probably taking that #1 position quite clearly in his performance for the Italian goal-tending tandem.
The best player of Team Canada is number 18, Billy Bridges.
Well, no surprise there. Billy Bridges was an offensive force for the Canadians in this game. A couple of nice goals, went hard to the net. We saw the great shot that he had as well. We saw the great toe drag that he had in setting up Hickey for a goal. He really did a little bit of everything in this game. He is a veteran of the program. He's played in many big international tournaments. He's no stranger to the big stage, as we see the handshake there from the 2 top players in this game. They're both very deserving. Bridges will be an interesting player to see going forward. He was dynamic in the 2015 World Championship that saw Canada win the silver medal. And he is showing here 2 years later that he hasn't lost a step in any way, shape, or form.
관중 여러분, 승리팀의 국가 연주가 있겠습니다. 캐나다팀 국기를 향해 주시기 바랍니다.
competition is now over. The next game is at 7 o'clock featuring Team Norway and Team Germany.
경기가 종료되었으니 다음 경기 준비를 위해 장내에 계시는 관중 여러분께서는 모두 회장해 주시기 바랍니다.
Please assist us by leaving the venue quickly and safely. Spectators are waiting to enter the arena for the next game. When you exit the arena, please pay attention to the staff directing you to the closest exit.
다음 경기 관람을 원하시는 관중 여러분께서는 퇴장 후 재입장해 주시기 바랍니다. 이어지는 노르웨이 대 독일.
One of the great traditions in hockey is the handshakes, even in a game as physical as this, where you can tell these teams didn't really care for each other. The great show of sportsmanship at the end of the game as well. So Canada, another dominant performance, 9-0 winners on day one against Norway, 7-0 winners on day two against Italy. As we'll take a look at the game highlights here, and this is how Canada got it done. They got cracking early, much as they did in day number one. They get on the board early, just brilliant offensive pace in their game. Billy Bridges, he was the catalyst as he went hard to the net there.
There was just no denying him, was there? The way he went to the net, the feed he gets from Hickey, and you know, he just had to establish that position on the Italian defense that was trying to track him down. They weren't going to, though. He got a sense, he had a nose for the net. He knew there was an opportunity to score a goal, and Billy Bridges has certainly shown in the first two games of this tournament that he is looking to try to help his nation reclaim a World Championship gold medal.
You talk about the chemistry between Bridges and Hickey. I thought Bridges was shooting there, and he likely would have scored. He's got such a terrific shot, but he goes back door to find Hickey again and does a great job in setting up Liam Hickey as Bridges continues to add to his tournament leading point totals. There's nothing the Italian goaltender could do there. A phenomenal game all around by 18, and he was rewarded with player of the game for Canada, which was a surprise to just about nobody.
Well, and then this is Westlake, who goes high for the 7th goal, the captain for Canada. And he equally, when he throws the Jets on and just tries to take this puck forward, there really are very few players in the world that have the deception, the speed that he's able to generate, and then the shooting here. To be able to finish and go to the left hand, and you're sure that that isn't the strong hand, but equally, it's hard to tell with Westlake which one is his dominant hand, because he's equally ambidextrous and equally capable. He takes it on the back of the right hand, slides it underneath his sled, gets it on the front of his left hand, and then it's up and over Arado, who gets player of the game, but he's beaten cleanly there and has no chance in which to try to make that save. And maybe it wasn't necessarily the hardest shot that Westlake can deliver, but it was the quickness of the release. It's how quickly he gathered it and put it in a position in which to shoot it in stride and in motion. And that's the one thing you saw from Canada today, and you see as both Canada and the USA played today, you see that exceptional puck management and puck handling ability.
Bridges with a couple, Hickey with a couple, Westlake with a couple. Those are the familiar names that we always expect to see on the board for Canada, and they carry this team to a 7-0 victory. The shot's 27-2. Another dominant performance by Canada, as we've seen both games end by a score of 7-0. The USA was 7-0 victory earlier, and Canada now 7-0 over Italy. So when you look ahead to the final game on day two of tournament competition here, it is Germany taking on Norway, both teams losing on day one. What has to change for each team to try to pick up a win here today?
Well, I think Norway just didn't give us a whole lot of offensive output, did they? I don't think they even got a chance to get started against Canada. There was so much of the possession in the zone, so they're going to have to get activated and realize that, you know, we've got to take some chances. There's no sense sitting around and absorbing and waiting for the game to come to them. They've got to initiate, and it's equally the same thing for Germany. Germany, actually, in the game against the Republic of Korea in day number one, were the better team at times, and I think surprised a lot of us here watching this tournament. I think they're capable of giving Norway a good game, and it's going to be an interesting third match of the day here in day two. It'll really set this table in the tournament to light by the time we're done 6 games in this competition.
Well, we take a look at the standings, and this is why this is such a critical game to wrap up day two, is because Germany and Norway, they could potentially be two teams battling to finish in that 4th, 5th spot, which would gain an automatic berth to the 2018 Paralympic Games. So these head-to-head matchups between these bubble teams, so crucial. Goal differential playing a factor as well, as we see Canada in first place now with 2 wins in the tournament. Puck drop coming up at 7 o'clock local time here in the Republic of Korea. It is Norway and Germany. It will be a fun game to watch, and we hope you join us for it. And it was a fun game here between the Canadians and the Italians. Certainly the most physical game of the tournament.
Yeah, and I think that's always fun to watch, too. It's one of the ways they describe the sport here. It's physical, it's fast, and it's fun. And when you can play a physical brand of hockey and as skillful as both teams displayed today, it is fun to watch. It's entertaining, and that's what makes this sport unique and distinctive.
We hope you join us for our third game here on day 2, and we thank you for watching our presentation of Canada versus Italy.